Welcome back to Bride Society. I'm Laura and it's Rebecca. Well, we're back with a wedding trends video for 2021. Now, we obviously did one of these last year, and yeah, that.
We're fools.
Yeah. Apparently, we were foolish to not see a worldwide pandemic coming. So, we're being optimistic. We're getting ready for weddings when they can happen again. And so we're going to look ahead to next year and give you some of our ideas for what the trends for those weddings may be.
Yes. Optimism all the way, people. 2021. So obviously, first of all, we got thinking about actually what the sort of knock-on effect on weddings might be from how things have had to change out of necessity, but actually how that might change the whole wedding forum as a whole. And so, I mean, I guess the initial obvious starting point would be these like micro weddings or small weddings. Saying maybe not by choice initially, but they offer obviously a certain like intimacy, a chance where you can like really get like speak to your guests and interact with them, and it be a really like personal affair, and where maybe you can even spend a little bit more on things like favors or the food and things, because you're not having to do it in such big quantities. So people might actually really start to appreciate the benefits of the micro wedding. So maybe they're here to stay.
And we did a video on the perks of small weddings, didn't we? So we can link that below. So if you're kind of on the fence about whether when restrictions are lifted you might want to go down that route anyway, go and check that video out to see what we thought. Yeah, the other thing that might not be by choice necessarily, but probably the rise in weekday weddings. Now, there's long been some advantages to weekday weddings because often they may be slightly cheaper than kind of peak weekend and summer weddings, but because there's obviously been a lot of postponements this year to next year, if you're newly engaged and kind of looking for your wedding date and want to get married in the near future, you might be more limited on the dates available. But again, you might just be looking for a weekday wedding anyway. But yeah, we think there'll be a lot more of those in order to kind of catch up with all the happy days that sadly were missed this year.
Yes, people's diaries could be pretty fully booked next year throughout, and throughout the seasons too. I think maybe people won't be so concentrated in to peak wedding season as well. Again, just perhaps out of necessity, having to spread it out. But yeah, maybe winter, autumn weddings be on the rise. But yeah, and as well. Again, I know we keep coming back to this balance of necessity and just maybe choice, but maybe things again like bringing tools such as Zoom, like we're using now, or similar platforms, into helping more guests attend your wedding. So maybe you're having a smaller wedding, you're choosing to have a smaller wedding, you have relatives abroad who maybe can't get into the country in the same way over the coming months. So yeah, maybe you're choosing to use technology in your wedding. Obviously technology as a whole in the world is booming, right? Like, so why can that not filter into weddings? So yeah, things like Zoom, maybe even things like augmented reality. Maybe your guests at home are wearing those I don't know what they're called, but those like visor things, and you've got somebody like actually like touring them around the wedding, and so it's like they're there, you know, get crazy with tech.
Super fancy, wouldn't it?
That would be super fancy.
With those, I haven't used one, but in like video games, you can just look around and see different parts of, so if it was actually your wedding, but that's just, it blows my mind. So if you're not going down the technology route, you might be looking for venues maybe with outdoor spaces, so, or alternative venues like marquees or teepees, so there is more fresh air, which we've all been told is very important. But obviously if you're in Britain, weather is always a factor, so there's probably plan B need to be, if you're going for properly outdoors, you probably need a plan B, but there might be more demand for outdoor spaces, outdoor weddings, things like that.
Yeah, I'm sure those businesses are probably getting a bit of a boom, or a belated boom after sort of obviously the fallback recently, but hopefully it'll be good for them. And as well, again, this is something we touched on in one of our other videos, but maybe a rise in more non-traditional wedding venues. So I think sort of traditional wedding venues have kind of come into being because of their capacity for large numbers, and sort of obviously licensed for alcohol, that kind of thing. But maybe again with smaller numbers, you might be thinking more intimate venues, more personal venues, so somewhere that maybe means something to the two of you as a couple. So yeah, maybe just some of the restrictions that you maybe felt by that, so not like COVID restrictions, but restrictions we felt coming from the sort of traditional way of doing things, and maybe been lifted, so you can actually do you can do you.
Now this next trend is something I think is very close to Rebecca's heart, and is kind of more women making speeches. Not just women necessarily, but more casual, spontaneous, informal speeches. So again, if you've got a more intimate number of people might feel more comfortable saying something meaningful, giving a heartfelt message to the couple. But yes, you're very pro bride standing up and speaking, aren't you?
Well, I am. I mean, it may come as a surprise to like our US viewers that women do not speak in the speeches here in the UK. It's just not how the tradition of how it's done. Here traditionally the groom, the father of the bride, and the best man do the speeches, and it's kind of amazing, really, in the age of feminism that us Brits have not caught on to the women speaking. But I just think, with this like smaller crowds and maybe the impromptu speeches where they're not planned, they're just speaking off the cuff, but it may open the gate to maybe more women speaking, and that just as a result might continue on past this situation. I think I'm seeing the rise of women here, but but she says it's close to my heart because I did at my wedding, even though I did have a bigger wedding, I took that mic. I suppose, again, a sort of a follow-on thought I had about all this was kind of guest participation. So, and I suppose I was thinking what things would be spawned out of having had been forced into kind of smaller weddings or reduced numbers, and what might evolve from that. So by guest participation, there's maybe your guests have talents and skills and things that they might want to bring. So instead of you maybe hiring entertainment with extra bodies and things coming in, maybe you have a group of people who play instruments. Maybe you have a magician friend, or dancers, or people just in your group that maybe have things to offer. And I think there's something lovely about sharing that and that intimacy and that doing something for your friends. And I just think there's an added layer of personal touch to that.
It does make it really personal. Definitely. Right, so we're moving on to kind of from venues and any restrictions we might have had to some other trends we're seeing. Now, one, we mentioned this in last year's video, but it was probably for a slightly different reason, but dried flowers are still huge, and even more so now because of maybe uncertainty about whether weddings can go ahead on the original date. I've seen so many florists now offering dried flowers as kind of everlasting flowers, and it's true, they do last so long. So it doesn't matter if you have to move your date because your bouquet will be absolutely fine. Plus they're really beautiful, they can be. So, and you can keep them afterwards and have them in your house. So win-win.
Yeah, kind of get to keep your wedding bouquet kind of thing. Yeah, I like that. And almost as well, like floral splurges. Like, I don't know if you remember back to sort of Princess Beatrice's wedding, and you've seen the photographs with that really ornate archway. I've got in mind the picture of them stood outside the venue, like with this really ornate, beautiful archway. And I think that's going to inspire a lot of people in the year ahead about their florals too, like these sort of large ornate, like big flower heads, and creating backdrops like that for photographs. And I think it's just a really beautiful focal point, talking point as well.
Makes a big impact, definitely. Talking about backdrops, another big trend we're seeing are these kind of curved backdrops. So lots of almost like sails behind you, but maybe like wooden boards in curved shapes. We'll put a picture on the screen to show you what we're talking about. In like your wedding colours in a variety of shades or complementary, and they just look great either behind maybe your ceremony table or in front of behind other things as like a focal point for photos, and it's maybe like a more modern take on some of the other backdrops we've seen in recent years, the kind of geometric shapes, but we've now got these curved lines, things like that. So it's just a kind of evolution of what's been popular before.
Yeah. And then like if we're thinking about outfits, like again, maybe you're having 2 different occasions still, like because of how things have been. Maybe you're having a small ceremony and soon and a reception later, something like that. So perfect opportunity for 2 outfits, just saying. So they might be completely different outfits. Maybe you've got sort of a top and a bottom like outfit where you can sort of mix and match parts in and out, or maybe if there's a big gap in between, maybe you're like adding to the original outfit. Maybe you're putting sort of what are they called, Laura, like it's like a pullover like lace top type.
Pullover lace top.
Let's go with that. I'm sure they have an official name, and there's probably boutique people watching this screaming the answer at me.
We know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So taking the opportunity if budget allows to do that, to have 2 different looks.
If you were someone that maybe wanted something maybe a bit more out there, but thought, oh, maybe I'm not brave enough to do that. If you were having kind of a small ceremony and kind of a bigger reception, you could maybe have that more, like, I'm not talking crazy, but you could maybe be a bit bolder with your choice for the ceremony or for either of them. So you could maybe have 2 completely different looks.
I was just going to say that, like, I don't know about when you were planning your wedding, Laura, but it's so hard to make like one choice for everything. Like, you just think, oh, this is one day I get to do it once, but not anymore. You can have 2 days and 2 outfits. Like, it just gives you more opportunity, different ways to express yourself or your different tastes and things as well. But yeah, sorry, Laura, do continue.
So another trend that we're seeing coming through are these bridal shoulder wraps. So not like straps on the dresses, but maybe sheer, again, we'll pop a picture up of what we're talking about, but these sheer, almost like tops. I feel like it's quite 80s, but in a good way. So maybe a different way, if you're not most confident about your arms, another way of kind of covering that if you're just a bit self-conscious about that. And again, they could be taken off, kind of day to night look. Another way to, as you were saying before, creating 2 looks without necessarily having a huge budget to be able to have 2 completely separate.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And the next thing, we'll think about cake. I mean, when am I not thinking about cake? But we're thinking about cake. And I think last year in our cake trends video, we talked a little bit about like having clear tiers between the cake tiers, but we're thinking like the year ahead that's going to become more of a thing, so that you almost have completely separate tiers that are transparent, that are like see-through, like acrylic, like plastic, like just so you get this ornate opulence look, but without the excess amount of cake, which if you are forced to or choosing to have smaller weddings, that might be the perfect workaround. So you get these unusual, beautiful designs still, but without having to visually go small.
Yeah, because last year we talked about kind of small like separators, but yeah, we're talking big, and I've seen them with maybe flowers inside, or I know we talked about pressed flowers on cakes last year, but I've seen them kind of inside these acrylic clear tiers as well. So you've kind of got interest, although they're kind of see-through, you've still got interest there and the cake as well. So it's, yeah, lots going on, and they look really cool.
And I mean, also, what could be cooler than miniature edible favors? Just putting it out there, people, because basically it's what I want when I go to a wedding. So, so yeah, edible favors. So gone are the days, I think, of sugared almonds. I know that's the sort of traditional favor, but yeah, I mean, you can be so creative with it. And obviously there's thousands of different things you can do for favors. They're on our channel. There's so many choices. But what we're starting to see creep in, which we just really love as an idea, is like sort of miniature desserts almost. So like cakesicles particularly, and we've got quite a few different ones of those on our channel as well if you want to have a crack making them yourself. But they're just so cute, and so much diversity in how they can be presented and decorated, and you've got that kind of take-home dessert. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. I mean, I'd be a happy camper guest, wouldn't you?
Everything is better in miniature, just lots of it obviously, but lots of things. Yes, definite happy wedding guest if I was there and they were the wedding favors. Yeah, so we hope you've enjoyed that video. Let us know if you agree with these trend predictions, or if there are any other trends that you've seen for 2021. Are you as optimistic as us? Hope so. We really hope, fingers crossed, that we can get back to weddings really soon, obviously safely. But
yeah, we've got our fingers crossed for all of you. Like, yeah, we're here for you. Like, please message us. We love to like hear from you and support you however we can.
If you like this video, give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.